Hey, this is Gary Mintchell. It's all about automation, and as you can see, I'm back in my home office. And after being at a conference every week in June, it's been a wild spring for me. I've been gone every week, but some of that's been on personal business. I gave my last recording was on the Mesa conference, and before that I was at Honeywell. Before that at Rockwell's RS Tech Ed. This week I went to something I've never been to before, and that's Siemens PLM. Siemens PLM. This is maybe they think the longest ongoing user conference. It's put on by the users of Solid Edge and other products, the NX and Team Center and so on. It's run by the users, and they have their own budget. As I said, we make money, we spend money. So the registrations go to the user conference and so on, and it's their own little company and so on. And they had an unfortunate happenstance this year. They were supposed to be in Nashville a month ago. Nashville had those really bad, unfortunate floods, which we're not hearing much about anymore. But they were going to be at the Opryland Hotel, and it was under mud, water, really bad. Probably won't open again until November, I'm told. So they had to really be flexible. They found a place in Dallas, rescheduled, and guess what? They had 1,400 people show up. They said they lost about 100 people that couldn't switch times, but they gained about 100 who could come because of the change time. So it all worked out for them. So they met at the Sheraton Dallas, and that was just this past week. I flew out on Sunday, and then we had the keynote on Monday, and I was there through Tuesday, and then made a few other visits. Got home yesterday. Yesterday was a travel day. Yesterday was Thursday, July 1st. Recording this on Friday, July 2nd. So, for all of you in the United States, wish you a happy 4th of July coming up on Sunday, and we've got friends coming over, and we can watch the fireworks from our front yard, so it should be a cool day. So hopefully you'll have a cool weekend. Yeah, Siemens PLM. It's Siemens at one point they were a partner, kind of, and then they bought UGS. UGS was kind of a spin-off from EDS. EDS bought a number of companies, and I can't remember all the companies in the stream that go together, and you could trace their CAD system. So it was CAD, computer-aided design, computer-aided manufacturing, and they bring in some more things. They bought Technomatics. Previously, Technomatics had bought US Data, so that gets digital manufacturing involved into the mechanical CAD that they had. They've got electrical CAD now, so it's a whole big system. I have been talking to Siemens about digital manufacturing for years, and this was only about 3 years ago then when they bought UGS. So I had one meeting with some German executives who talked about digital manufacturing and partnering with UGS, and in the next year they had bought UGS, and so I questioned them. I said, let's just be honest. Siemens' track record for acquisitions isn't all that good, and they said, we've learned and we'll do a better job. And then I had some competitors say, well, when you get down to Siemens PLM, just talk to the people and see how well it's really going. We hear there's a lot of grumbling. Well, I kind of like hang out in the hallways, and you go to the restroom and you hear people talk, and I didn't hear any grumbling. In fact, the executives are very happy with being part of Siemens now, because Siemens brings a big, stable, financially sound company behind them. Therefore, product development and research and development kept on pace during this last year of the downturn. And so that stability has been very good for them. They've continued to bring out products. They're quite innovative. I said in a session on a product called Velocity. Velocity's been around for a while, but it has some really cool technology on mechanical design. And a professor came to us and talked about how he can unleash the creativity of his mechanical designers. And so instead of getting all wrapped up in the tool and learning how to use the tool and arcane things and losing their motivation because all they do is sit in classes where they learn math and talk about maybe someday designing, they can actually take this tool, this Velocity, which is synchronous technology in the CAD system is the stuff. And go to their website if you want more. But anyway, they can start to do really cool design stuff. And then there's this thing, kind of like 3D printing. which is way cool. You can layer a plastic kind of a material, a layer at a time, and build up your model that you've been designing in your CAD system, and actually see in a physical reality what you've been designing. And he brought some of his students had done. His students are winning awards now with some of their designs for robotics and stuff. And it's really cool. I'm an engineering school dropout. I wanted to be an engineer. I studied electronics as a kid, and I was building circuits and building amplifiers and all kinds of weird stuff. And I go to college, and I looked. It's going to be like 4 years before I ever get into a lab. Never get to build anything. You're supposed to build stuff if you're an engineer. So I kind of just studied all kinds of stuff, and then went back into engineering kind of through the back door. And they see the same thing. Kids drop out that have a lot of talent, but they couldn't. It's just like, I'm not doing what I thought I was going to do. I'm not building stuff. So anyway, that's the Velocity series. Set in the Technomatic stuff. And by the way, another podcast I'll have, and right now it's on Automation World, did a podcast with the director of marketing for Technomatics products or their digital manufacturing stuff. And the podcast I did was virtual commissioning, which is a way of building stuff, building your machine up. You build the product, you build the machine to build the product on paper, well, not on paper, in digital. And then you can add controls, so you can actually make the machine move, and then you can test everything out and see if it really works. You can see if there's interferences, that if the slide comes in, that it'll kick the pallet out or whatever, all that sort of thing. All the stuff that may have saved a company I worked for once, because by the time we got the controls added to the mechanical, put it on the floor with all the steel built, changes were too hard to make, and we kept losing money. So anyway, so we talked about virtual commissioning. Sat in the Technomatics thing. An engineer from Caterpillar talked about their uses of the digital manufacturing. It's really coming together over the 4 or 5 years. In fact, I first heard about it maybe 10 years ago, and then that particular project with another company didn't go anywhere. The technology is really getting there, and they're putting it together. And maybe this time Siemens has done an acquisition right, and it looks like maybe it's coming together. A lot of enthusiasm amongst the attendees there. Talked to a lot of attendees, users, if you will, and management, and they all seem to be on track, and they're going. So that was Siemens PLM. That was my week this past week. Once again, I'm starting to hear weird things about the economy. Some people think, in fact, I have off and on for 20-some years bought products from a company called Nightingale Conant. I learned sales training from them one way and some other things, and they put out a lot of motivational tapes and that sort of thing. And so now they're pimping some guy who's he's got a flawless record of predicting the economy. Bless him. But he says we're bound for something even worse than we had before. These Ford, soothsayers are always on the negative side, but anyway, I saw another headline today where people think maybe the economy might be heading back down, because we've been wondering if it's going to be one of these W things, where you have they call it the double dip, where you come up a little bit, go back down before you really come into the recovery, and nobody knows. I just saw where the economy shed 100 and some thousand jobs in the U.S., but they were the census workers that were temporary anyway. But if you took those aside, the private economy actually grew by 83,000 jobs, but everybody wants to emphasize the other numbers. And I just saw another headline that said that factories want to expand, but they can't find skilled workers. So if you know somebody looking for a job, tell them to pick up a skill in a hurry, because factories are looking to hire. So it's hard to tell, to balance all the news that we get, but every one of these conferences I've been to for the last 8 weeks have been very positive. They've had more people coming out, more people learning, more enthusiasm about growing. I'm reading more about manufacturing picking up, manufacturing coming back from China to the U.S., and so on. So I don't know. It's a mixed bag. I'm not a predictor, but I do sense a lot of enthusiasm and stuff going on. And I sense that at Siemens PLM. Like I said, we're upbeat. Things are going well. Things are coming together. Customers are finding new uses. And so it was a good wrap-up for the month of June. No more conferences until the 1st of August, so I won't have one of these about a conference anyway for a while. So I wish you all a good weekend, or by the time you see this, you'll probably have already had it, so I hope you had a good weekend. And this is Gary Mintchell.